Yeah, very end of 19a. So we mentioned yesterday these cases of these two paths, one impure, one pure. A guy walked in the first path, did not enter into the temple, walked in the second path. He did enter into the temple. So the first opinion held you were going to be liable because, and then you forgot about it. You had a lapse. You forgot that you might have been impure. So the first opinion held, well, you have to be impure because you two paths, one of them is impure, and you walked into the temple, so you'll be liable. The last opinion said you're exempt. You're exempt from a number of cases, and even that first case, you're exempt. Now the question is, how are you exempt? You went down a path. You went down two paths. One of them is for sure impure. Then you had a lapse. You forgot you were impure, and you walked into the temple. So why is that different than every case we've been talking about until now? Where let's say you knew the insect touched you, you touched a dead body and you forgot about it and you walked into the temple. How come there everyone agrees you're going to be liable, and here it's a debate? That's the question. So bekulan. So the last word of the Amud is bekulan. Turning the page. Va'afilu. What is it?
One of the paths is
Impure.
the other is not. So
One
the
of the-
others unknown.
One is for sure pure. One is for sure impure.
Oh, okay.
The question is, and you went on both. And yet the last opinion, Rabbi Shimon says you're exempt. Why would you be exempt?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, now he's confused. Perfect.
Oh.
So filu b'kamaisa. Even the first case in this brisa, where you for sure are impure. Yet, mimanav shach, tamihu. Either way, you're tummy. There's no way around it. So how could that last opinion, Rabbi Shimon, hold that you are going to be exempt? Amar Rava says, Rava Hacha b'mayiskin. What are we talking about? Kigon shahalach berishon. He walked on the first path. Okay, and he finished. Then he went on to the second path. Ubisha'a shahalach b'sheni shachach shahalach berishon. When he was walking on the second path, he forgot he ever went on the first path. Long day, doesn't remember. So now, what's that called? So at the end of the day, you for sure are impure. The guy's for sure impure because he went on two paths. One is for sure impure. So he's for sure impure. Now he had a lapse. He just forgot he was impure walking to the temple. However, there's another caveat over here. He forgot that he ever walked on the first path. So in his mind, he walked on one path, doesn't know if it's impure or pure, and then walked into the temple. So how do you view that? Well, that last opinion in the Brisa Reb Shimon held, the Habile Miktas Yediyah. It's only considered a little bit of knowledge. I mean, we keep talking about you have to have knowledge in the beginning, knowledge at the end, right? Knowledge in the beginning, or only knowledge at the end. So what does it mean to know you are tummy? You have to know you are tummy. So if you touch a dead body and you know you're tummy, you're impure, and then you forgot about it, okay, that's the normal case. In this case, can you say he knew he was impure? In his mind, he never went on the first path. He totally blinked about it. So that the Gemara is calling is a miktas yediyah. It's a partial knowledge. And that's the machlokas in the Brisa. Ubahakam iflagi. Tanakama, so the first opinion said, Amrin miktas yediyah is kechol yediyah. A little bit of knowledge is like a lot of knowledge, meaning that amount is enough to be considered knowledge. To therefore, when you have a lapse of knowledge, you'll be liable to sacrifice.
Knowledge gets you into trouble.
That's right. So Rabbi Shimon Savar lo amrina miktas yediyah. He says no. A little bit of knowledge is not enough to be considered knowledge. Therefore, when you have a lapse, you're going to have to bring that sacrifice. So that's the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. Now, halach barishon. The guy walks on the first path. V'nichnas, and he goes into the temple. Fine. and he leaves. He's a vishana v'tavel. He goes, he does sprinkling twice, day 3 and day 7, and then goes to the mikvah to purify himself. Fine. Chazer v'halach b'sheni, and then he walks on the second path. V'nichnas, and again enters the base of Mikdash. Chayiv. First opinion held you're chayiv. Rabbi Shimon poter. Now, this case a little bit different because let's think about it. We don't know which path is impure, path 1 or path 2. We don't know. But we do know that in the middle of his travels between path 1 and path 2, he went through a purification process. So in the event that path 1 was the impure one, he's pure. In the event that path 1 was the pure one, he's still impure. So we don't know. That's a suffix. We don't know. That's doubtful. We don't know. It's not that he only knows a little bit, like the first case before. Here, his actual status is totally in doubt because he went through a purification process. The question is, was he impure? Was he not impure? So now, so that is another dispute. Tanakama and Rabbi Shimon. Says the Gemara, "V'amai chayiv safek yedihu." So it says, according to this, why should he be liable for that sacrifice? The rules are you have to know that you're impure, have a lapse, go into the temple, and then be like, oh my gosh, I was impure. You can't call this knowledge. It's only a suffix. It's doubtful knowledge. Who said that doubtful knowledge is enough to be considered to bring a sacrifice? Oh, that the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Khan, in this case, Asu Safek Yediyah Ki Yediyah. We'll see why, but Rabbi Yochanan says over here they made Safek Yediyah Ki Yediyah. They understood that they learned that even a Safek Yediyah, even a doubtful knowledge, is considered full knowledge. Rich, yeah, yeah, we're doing great. What?
The tea.
I haven't drinking it yet. I'm waiting for it to cool down. Oh, 100% better. Okay. Reish Lakish Amar. Oh, so that's Rabbi Yochanan. He has, we'll see why at the bottom. Safek Yediyah Ki Yediyah. Yeah. Partial knowledge is like a doubtful knowledge. If you're impure, is like is enough to be considered knowledge that you're impure. Therefore, when you have a lapse, go into the temple, come out, you'll be liable for a sacrifice. Reish Lakish Amar, he seems to argue, and he says, Hamani Rabbi Shmuel. Reish Lakish says, really, this is going like the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel. The Amar lo be'inan yediyah betchila. Rabbi Shmuel has a novel opinion that in order to bring the sacrifice, you don't need to have knowledge in the beginning. So it's interesting. Reish Lakish didn't want to say, like Rabbi Yochanan, that doubtful knowledge is considered like knowledge. But to that, he was stuck. So why are you liable? So the only thing he could come up with is that it must be reflecting the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel, who said that you don't need knowledge in the beginning. So if you don't need knowledge in the beginning, so that's not a question anymore. How could doubtful knowledge make you liable? According to Rabbi Shmuel, you don't need knowledge in the beginning. As long as you have knowledge at the end, you'll be liable to sacrifice. So, okay. Now, these two opinions are important. Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Why? Because next Gemara, V'rami de Rabbi Yochanan, V'rami de Reish Lakish, de Reish Lakish. We just seem to make a dispute. Is doubtful knowledge enough to be liable to sacrifice? Rabbi Yochanan versus Reish Lakish. We're now going to ask on each of those opinions from another case, and then see what the difference is, and then finish the parak. Okay. And stop. Yeah, I think something just stuck. Cool. So the Tanya. So it says in the Brisa, Achal Safek Chelev. You have a piece in front of you. Don't know. Is this a forbidden fat? Is it a delicious steak? Don't know. Yeah. You go Tuesday night to the J and you overhear someone saying maybe it's a forbidden fat. Alan wasn't watching the chef, or kosher messed up, whatever it is. Right? So you don't know what it is. So Achal Safek Chelev, and then Vinoda. Someone tells you, Achal Safek Chelev Vinoda. Safek Chelev Vinoda. So someone you're eating a piece that's doubtful, and you weren't sure. Obviously, if you knew it was doubtful, you would never eat it because it might be a biblical prohibition. But you had no idea. You ate it. Then someone told you, "Oh, that piece, Safek Chelev." Okay. Then you had another piece, and someone's like, "Ooh, that piece, Safek Chelev." You had bad luck today. Yeah. I don't know who packed your lunch, but yeah, Safek Chelev. So now you found out about this. So now says Rebbe Omer. Now remember, for anything which is a doubtful kares prohibition, you don't bring your usual sin offering, a korban chatas. Rather, you bring a korban asham talui. Asham talui is this guilt offering, as they call it, which is brought for things that are doubtful kares prohibitions. Like this, if you knew it was chaylev, you just thought chaylev was allowed. That's called an inadvertent act, and you bring a sin offering for that. But here you don't know if it's chaylev. So for that, you bring an asham talui. So, yeah. So now, Rabbi Omer, Keshem Shemei Vichatas Al Kol Echad V'Echad. Just like if you had a piece of your bagel, not bagel, a piece of steak, and someone's like, oh, chaylev, you're like, oh man, right? So you bring a sin offering for that, and you go back and you have another piece of steak, you're like, ooh, chaylev, you're like, oh man. So you bring another sin offering for that. So just like you would do that, because the knowledge in the middle breaks it up. So someone tells you, ooh, that's chaylev, you're like, oh, okay. And then you eat another piece, so then that breaks up your first eating once you have knowledge that you did something wrong. Mm-hmm. So then you bring one sin offering. If you do it again and then you get knowledge that it was wrong, you bring another sin offering. So Rebbe, yeah, it is expensive. Yeah. I agree. So so Rebbe Omer, just like that formula would be true by a sin offering, the same will be true by a guilt offering. Kishem shemevi chatas al kol echad v'echad, kach mevi asham toli al kol echad v'echad. Same thing over here. The knowledge breaks it up, and therefore you'd have to bring two asham talis, two of these offerings. A guilt, I think the translation is a guilt offering. Tali means hanging. I mean, hanging, I assume, because it's hanging between, because we're not sure if you actually did something wrong or not. It was like hanging in the balance. I'm guessing that's why. Tali means to hang.
A particular animal?
Oh, which animal do you bring? So it's in Vayikra, in the beginning. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to know a sheep or a lamb or a goat? I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember. What is that? Yeah. Definitely not a dog. That's what you're asking. Yeah, not a dog or a cat.
Not a dog.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay, we can look it up. So okay. So that is opinion of Rabbi. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda. You know where they would have it? In the back of the some of the blue chumashim. They started putting out charts in the back of every sacrifice, what you bring, how old, what gender. Yeah. What is that?
Picture book.
Picture of, yeah, here also? No?
Yeah, picture.
Glosser, that's interesting. Doesn't say. Okay. So that's Rebbe. You bring two of these offerings. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon Amru, in the name of Rabbi Shimon, Mishum Rabbi Shimon, no, Eino Mevi Ela Asham Tali Echad. You only bring one, not two. So it's different than bringing a sin offering. If you would have eaten food and someone's like, ooh, that's chaylev, you're like, oh, I thought chaylev was mutter. I thought it was allowed. Like, no, not allowed. So then you would bring a sin offering. If you do it again, you bring another sin offering. But here you only bring one of these guilt offerings. Shenamar, how do I know? Because the verse in that section, so 5th chapter of Vayikra, it tells you. Yeah, Hevi Ayel Tamim. You're going to bring an Ayel Tamim, a lamb. Yeah, a lamb. You bring a lamb. So lamb chops, exactly. Shnemer al shagaso. For eating lamb chops, you bring in lamb chops. Yeah. Shnemer al shagaso asher shagag. So for the inadvertent act which you inadvertently did, hatorah ripsa shagagos harbe, va'asham tal echad. Specifically for the inadvertent acts you do, you can bring multiple offerings. However, for the asham tali, for this offering, you only bring one. The Amarei Shlakish, okay, so that's fine. So that's like the introduction. Now we need to find a contradiction, Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. So now, the Amarei Shlakish, Kan Shana Rebbe. They're coming now to explain this opinion of Rebbe, who said that you bring two offerings, not one, but you bring two. Says Reish Lakish, why do you bring two? Kan Shana Rebbe Yedias Sveikas Mischalkos Lechatos. So according to Rebbe, according to Reish Lakish, in the name of Rebbe, let's say that you did something wrong inadvertently. You ate something wrong. You didn't know that it was chaylev. Yeah, you didn't know it was pig, whatever. I don't think it's curries, but you didn't know it was chaylev. That's a good example. So, and now someone tells you that might have been chaylev. They didn't tell you for sure it is chaylev. That it might have been chaylev. Is that enough of knowledge to break up your two eatings or not? If someone told you for sure that's chaylev, and you go do it again without realizing, you didn't know that was also chaylev, and someone tells you again that's also chaylev, you bring two sin offerings. What about someone tells you that might have been chaylev? So says Reish Lakish in the name of Rebbe, Yedias Sveikos, that's enough to divide up to bring a sin offering. You don't need full knowledge to be considered breaking up your two eatings. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, no. Kishem sheyedias vade be'alma mischalkos lechatos, kach yedias safek mischalkos la'ashamos. Says Rabbi Yochanan that just like you need definite knowledge to break up your eatings when it comes to a definite sin offering, so too a doubtful knowledge will break up your guilt offerings, but it will not break up your sin offerings. So if someone tells you that might be chaylev, that's not going to be enough to make you bring a chatos. So that is the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. Now, Bishlama de Rabbi Yochanan lo kasha. Rabbi Yochanan earlier said they made safek yediyah ki yediyah, the guy that had a purification process in the middle of walking through the two paths. There, Rabbi Yochanan said doubtful knowledge is enough to be considered knowledge. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, that's going to be very good. He says also over here, doubtful knowledge is going to be enough to make you bring this guilt offering. However, Bishma Rabbi Yochanan lo kasher kan asu v'lo b'kol Torah kula asu. According to Rabbi Yochanan, earlier he said kan asu safek yediyah kidiyah. When it came to the variable offering, the korban olav v'yored, there Rabbi Yochanan said, and only there, that partial knowledge is considered like full knowledge. But over here, Rabbi Yochanan says partial knowledge, if you ate the chaylev or not, someone says that might have been chaylev, Rabbi Yochanan says that's not enough. You need to have for sure knowledge to bring a sin offering. Partial knowledge is not going to help you. So we say, according to Rabbi Yochanan, it's not a contradiction. Because that he held earlier by the variable offering, by walking the two paths with the purification process in the middle, that was only over there they made partial knowledge like full knowledge, but not everywhere else. So kan asu below b'chol Torah kulas, but not in the rest of Torah. Hachahu delo ksiva yediyah behedya. The reason why is because by the variable offering, it doesn't say the word knowledge explicitly. It just says mi v'nelamhu. It says you had a lapse. You had a lapse from what? Says Rabbi Yochanan, from any kind of knowledge, even doubtful knowledge. It doesn't say you have to know. It says you had a lapse. Having a lapse could mean either from definite knowledge or, according to him, even from partial knowledge. It's still considered a lapse. So, kula asu, but not in the rest of Torah. Why? There it says, dichsiv ohoda elav. You have to know. You have to have a definite knowledge. Yediyah mal yasabinan. To bring a sin offering, you have to have definite knowledge. Doubtful knowledge is not going to help you. So Rabbi Yochanan is easy to answer the contradiction. That a variable offering is the exception. Everything else is the rule. Fine. Elo, according to Reish Lakish here understands that even a doubtful knowledge will break it up, that you will have to bring two sin offerings. So in the event that you ate something, it sounds like that might have been chaylev, and then you eat something again, it said that might have been chaylev, so you would bring two sin offerings. It does break it up. But earlier, Reish Lakish argued on Rabbi Yochanan, and he made that case like Rabbi Shmuel. So says the Gemara, Elo Reish Lakish, Ademokim Lake Rabbi Shmuel, why'd you have to, so to speak, stand on your head and make the brisa this one opinion of Rabbi Shmuel? You could have made it according to everybody like your own opinion. That partial knowledge is enough to be considered a full knowledge. But why did you have to veer off and make it like Rabbi Shmuel's opinion, like one opinion? Why do that? Ademokim like Rabbi Shmuel, Nukme Rebbe. You could have made it like Rebbe in this brisa, that you hold the partials as like full knowledge. So he says, no. You're right. I do hold this. I was teaching you something specific over there. Hakamash Malon, the Rabbi Shmuel, lo bayiti, yediyah betchila. I wanted you to know that Rabbi Shmuel doesn't need knowledge in the beginning. I wanted to teach you his novel opinion. Says the Gemara, Pshita, we knew that already. The lo bayi, that he doesn't need it. Why? Midelo miyasri le kroy. From the fact that he doesn't have an extra verse, like we learned earlier, I think on the Beis Amud Beis or Gimel Amud Aleph, it just says vanilla, not vanilla, like I think Rabbi Akiva held. He's no extra verse to learn out that you need, that you should need knowledge in the beginning. So of course that's obvious. So vanilla, the mechayev al hela mikdash. It just says if you had a lapse. It doesn't say they have to have a knowledge in the beginning. So mahu the tema, yeah, but you would have thought ki lesle mikrai aval mikmar isle. You would have thought you're right. From the verses, you could not have learned this halacha out, but maybe from the Gemara, from a tradition, you would have learned out and agreed that you would need knowledge in the beginning. To that, I'm teaching you that the verses is not enough, because maybe he learned it from somewhere else. To that, Reish Lakish is teaching us that no, he doesn't know it not from the psukim and not from any kind of tradition. He does not require knowledge in the beginning. But really, Reish Lakish does hold that partial knowledge would break up your eatings for a sin offering, and it would be enough to bring 2 sin offerings. Kamashvan, Hadron Allah, Yediyas HaTumah. Good. We finished the first 2 chapters, which talk about Tumah, and now the next 5 talk about oaths. Yeah. Okay, so Shavuos Shtaim Shein Arba. We have oaths, 2 that are 4, 2 the ones that are 2 in the Torah.
That's why we started Shtaim Shein Arba. So
That's right. So 2 that are 4. Yeah, 2 that are 4. So the 2 that are in the Torah are the future oaths. I will eat a piece of pizza. You make a swear in the name of God. I will eat a piece of pizza today. That's in the future. Or I make I will not eat a piece of pizza today. So those are future. Those are explicit in the Torah. The ones that are the other 2 are past. I ate. A person makes a swear. I ate a piece of pizza yesterday, or I did not eat a piece of pizza yesterday. Those are 4. So Shavuos Shtayim Shein Arba. Shvua she ochel vishalo ochel, future tense. She achalti vishalo achalti, past tense. I ate and I didn't eat. So yeah. So now, yeah. Okay. So yeah. Shvua shelo ochel viachal kol shehu chayiv. A guy makes a swear. He's not going to eat pizza today, and he goes and he has the tiniest little amount, less than an olive's worth, a kol shehu. So chayev, according to Rabbi Kiva, you are liable. Amru lo, they told Rabbi Kiva, where do we ever find heichen matzina b'ochel kol shehu shu chayev? To be liable for things that are prohibited in the Torah, you have to have an olive's worth. Okay, for Yom Kippur it's going to be a little bit different. Other things are a little bit different, but generally you have to have a certain measurement. Yeah, a kol shehu, a tiny little minuscule amount. It's like when you ask your kids to try some new food, right? Take like the tiniest little, right? So like that little, yeah. So they said, where do we ever find that you're liable for that? Shuchayev, shizechayev, that you found somewhere else that you're liable, that therefore this is liable. Where do you find such a thing? Amrul Ham Rabbi Akiva, he's going to say, heichan matzinu, b'medaber, maybe korban, shizeh medaber, maybe korban. Where'd you ever find it somewhere else in the Torah where you speak, and all of a sudden you have to bring a sacrifice for violating your speech? That you found over here, that you speak, that you violate your speech, and you have to bring a sacrifice. In other words, this whole section of the Torah is a novelty. I just spoke, and because I broke my speech, I bring a sacrifice. So we don't find other places that if you say certain words, you bring a sacrifice. So once this is a novelty, it's going to have its own novel rules. Basically, that's what he's doing. So you're right. The rest of the Torah, you don't find it. Here it's unique. It's a unique case. Yeah. Okay. Now, we said that Shvua she'ochel in the future, lememra de she'ochel, when you say she'ochel, that you're going to eat, that's the achilna mashma. It implies I will eat. And we're going to bring a brayso now that's going to seem to imply that even by using that same word, she'ochel, I will eat, it actually is going to imply I will not eat. And then we're going to try to figure out first of all, how does I will eat mean I will not eat? Fine. But 2 is, which one is it? When you make that formula, does it mean I will eat or I will not eat? So now, 3 cases. Shavua shelo ochalach. A guy makes a shvua, I will not eat from you. Shvua she'ochalach. A guy makes a swear with the words she'ochalach. Literally, I will eat from you. So he's saying, I will eat from you. Or lo shvua shelo ochalach, or a double negative. I'm not swearing that I will not eat from you, implying I will swear that I will eat from you. So all these 3 are usser. He's not allowed to eat from this guy because what he's really saying is not that I will eat from you, but that which I will eat from you is going to be prohibited, because he's invoking a shvua. The word shvua is prohibiting something. So when he's saying I'm making a shvua sha'ochalach, a shvua that literally will translate as I will eat from you, but I'm using the word shvua, so I'm saying it's really a shvua that whatever's from you, I will not eat. So I will not eat any food from you. That's really what it means. So, well, our Mishnah says if you make a shvua sha'ochel, it's I will eat, not I will not eat. So Amar Abaye, you're right. It really all depends on context. Amar Abaye, la'olam de'achil namash. Of course, the word sha'ochlach, I will eat, is implying that you are going to eat something. You make, I will eat pizza today. With a person does that. However, if that's true, then how do you understand this brisa? Lo kasha kan b'misarvin bolechol, kan b'she'ein misarvin bolechol. It depends. If nobody's around you pressuring you to eat, you just wake up one morning and make a swear that you're not eating pizza today. So of course, if you use the formula sha'ochalach, it means that you make a swear that you are going to eat pizza today. And of course, what it means is you have to go and keep your word. You have to go have a pizza. You have to go to the J and get a piece of pizza. When all of your friends are bugging you, eat, and you don't want to, and then you get up and you pipe up and you say shvua sha'ochalach. So then, in that context, everyone's pressuring you to eat, and you get up and you say you make an oath in the name of God that she'ochalach, which means I will eat from you. There, what you're saying is whatever is from you, I will not eat. So it all depends on context. Yeah. Now, in case you're bothered by what do you mean context? So I don't know. A good question. All that comes to mind is that in Nidarim, which we're about to talk about. So remember, a shavua is always on a person. It's on the act. It's the second half and the first half in Nidarim says this. It's on the gavra, on the person. You will do an action. You will not do an action. A neder is always on the object. This table is prohibited for me. This piece of pizza is prohibited for me. This person's possessions are prohibited for me. A shvu is always on the person. So at least in the world of Nidarim, where it's on the object, the Gemara there consistently says the whole Masechta that Nidarim goes after the way people speak. You say, so you make a neder, which is a little bit ambiguous. So how do people refer to that? How do they understand what that means? That'll determine the rules. It's interesting. So maybe a shvu is the same way. I don't know, because you're saying the words are that you will eat. The context is that you're obviously saying I don't want to eat because your friend keeps bugging you. So in the context, we can understand that what you're really saying is that you don't want to eat from them. So yeah, a little complicated, but yeah. So the Mishnah masnis and b'she'ein mesarvin bo. No one's pressuring you. You woke up one morning, decide to make a note that you want to have a piece of pizza. Fine. The brisa b'misarvin bo. The brisa talking about where they are pressuring you. Your friends are pressuring you to eat. The ka'amar and what you're saying is lo achilna. And you're saying lo achilna. Take out the next 2 words. Lo achilna. It's repetitive. Bekamar lo achilna. Dechika mishtaba. When you're swearing hachikamar. What you're really saying is shvua shelo ochel. When they're pressuring you, you don't want to eat. So when you don't want to eat and you get up and say, I swear, she'ochalach, use that formulation of she'ochalach, what you mean to say is that which is food from you, I'm making a swear on that I don't want to have any of it. So that is the opinion of Abaye. Now, Rav Ashi Amar, he seems to argue on this, that even when it goes, either he argues that we don't go after the context, and you have to see if that's going to stay true in the next 5 chapters, or he's saying that even if we do go by your circumstances, but the word she'ochalach is too much heavily implies I will eat. So even if you have all the pressure in the world, saying those words, you can't change their literal meaning. One of those 2 things he probably argues on. Rav Ashi Amar Tani Shvua She'i Ochalach. The brisa means to say not shvua she'ochalach, shvua she'i ochalach. So shvua she'i ochalach means I will not eat from you. E is I will not. Like e efshar, it's impossible. In Hebrew you say it's ze efshar. It's impossible. The word is not. So really the Bryce is saying, Shvuah she'i ochalach. I'm not going to eat from you. So says the Gemara, what the Bryce is teaching me? That's obvious. I hachi ma'ila meimra. What are you teaching me? That if when you say I will not eat, what it means is I will not eat. I know that already. So I hachi ma'ila meimra. What are you teaching me? Mahu de tema. You would have thought lishne de iskalele. When you said the word e, so it's not the regular way you say that you don't want to do something. You would say lo or something like that. So maybe the guy just messed up his speech. Really, he's trying to say shvuah she'ochalach. But the word e came out funny, and he sort of messed up. He stumbled in his words, but he didn't mean to say e. So kamash on that, no. When a guy says shvuah she'i ochalach, it's a little bit of a funny way to say you don't want to eat something. We don't assume that you really stumbled on your words. Really, we say that you meant I do not want to eat something. Okay. Deep breath and keep going. So, as a wise man once said, Daf Yomi is ruthless. Yeah,
What?
ruthless. What did he say? Relentless, not ruthless. Relentless. Thank you. Not ruthless. Okay. So, yeah. What?
Misquoting something.
That's true. That's true. Okay. Yeah. The journey continues. Says the Brisa, continuing our discussion of formulations of what is considered a good oath and not a good oath. Now, we're going to introduce a new concept, which is called a concept called hatfasa. I don't know exactly the way to English it, but it means to latch onto. So let's say you have something which is already prohibited. You have a sacrifice right here. Betty's already prohibited. Now, instead of saying, I want this object is prohibited onto me, like in a case of a vow and neder, you just say, I want to be prohibited like this. So I didn't say, this is prohibited onto me. I'm forbidden from getting any benefit from this. You just say, this is like this. That's called hatfasa. You're taking this and attaching it to this. So now we're going to talk about that in terms of a neder, which is on the object, and that which is a shvuah on the person. Right? So let's say there's a certain fast day. So, I want, his possessions to be like the fast day. I mean, the same way I'm prohibited from eating on a fast day, I want to be prohibited also from having his possessions. So I didn't use the full formulation. Rather, I attached something which is already prohibited onto myself. Oh, good. That's what I was hoping for. So that's right. So not bad. 646. Yeah. So Tana Rabbanan. Okay. So, but before that, mifta shvuah. So now there's always a question why a person would do this, but okay. In the Torah's lexicon, so the word mifta, which literally means to utter. So let's say a guy said mifta kikar zualai. Instead of saying this pizza is prohibited onto me, you use the word mifta, which means to utter. So you said the word mifta kikar zualai. That's another way of saying I'm not going to eat this piece of food, right? So we only understand it one way. I will not eat this piece of food, but the word mifta means to utter. We're going to see it. The verse includes this. Is that you use that formulation? That's another way of saying I'm not going to eat this. You say mifta. So if you use that, shvuah, it's a shvuah. Another example similar to that is isar shvuah. Isar is another way of prohibiting something upon yourself. So you say isar shvuah. Now we'll get to what that means in a second. Then there's a cryptic line here. Isar isar. Isar isar. What does that mean? So that's the Gemara trying to figure out. Two opinions. We're going to see what that means. Im ata omer. If you tell me isar is a shvuah, using the language of isar, I want this to be prohibited to me like an isar. Isar this onto me. Sounds like the word asar a little bit, right? Isar shvuah chayiv. If you'll tell me, then that is liable. The imlav pater. Says the Gemara. What are you saying? Im ata omer isar shvuah is liable. You just told me isar shvuah. That works as a language of a shvuah. The ha'amris isar shvuahu. You just told me that is a good language of a shvuah. So we have three statements. Mifta shvuah. That we're fine. We're not arguing about that. Then we have this other two. Isar shvuah and then isar isar. So what does isar shvuah and what does isar isar mean? So Amar Abaye. Abaye explains it very simply. Somewhat simply. Okay, not so simply. No. So Amar Abaye. Yeah, Amar Abaye. Read it very simply. Hachikamer, mifta shvuah, done. You use the formulation of mifta. Instead of saying, I will not eat a piece of pizza, mifta the pizza. right? That's also a good formulation of a shvua. So that's one. Now, isar is mitvas b'shvua. This idea of attaching, latching on. So when you say isar upon me this piece of pizza, so what are you saying? What you're really saying is, it's as if you're saying,
Daf Yomi?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So when you say isar mitvas b'shvua, so what it means is that just like there's something called hatfasa, that if this is prohibited, you can say I want this to be like this. So now when you use the formulation of isar, so that's a way of also latching something on. That's a formulation of attaching one prohibition to another prohibition. So isar is a way of saying mitvas b'shvua. You're attaching a prohibition onto yourself, from something onto yourself. Then the end of the Bryce was saying isar. Now, imata omer mitvas b'shvua kimoti shub mepivda michayev v'im lav pater. So saying the word isar is another way of attaching a prohibition on yourself. However, that depends what happens if you attach a prohibition onto yourself. So by nedarim, it'll be probably, it works. But by a shvua, can you do that or not? Can you use, so if you say, I will not eat something, that's for sure good. Mifta, I won't eat something, that's also good. But I want myself to be prohibited onto the pizza, just like I'm prohibited onto the pig. So does that work or not? If it works, so then when you use the formulation isar, that'll also work, because isar is a formulation of attaching. So if attaching works, then isar will prohibit you. If attaching does not work, then using the formulation of isar is not going to work either. So that's the way Abaye learns it.
Just
one second. Wait, no. Yeah, 1 second. So we're just running low on time. So that's that. So now, okay. So now back to this idea that mifta is a language of a shvua. How do you know? Umimai de mifta shvua. How do you know that the word mifta is a proper language of a shvua? So says the Gemara, Dichsiv o nefesh kisi shava levate bisvasayim. When a person makes a shvua to utter with his lips. Oh, so right now the Gemara assumes, since it uses that terminology of uttering, so even using the word mifta will also be considered a good shvua. The problem is the word isar, which we're not sure if that's good or not, is also written in the Torah. So if your precedent for prohibiting something is the fact that that word is written in the Torah, isar nami, that's also written in the Torah. Dichsiv, kol nether, any vow or oath, but kol shvuos, isar, it says the word isar. So, and yet Abaye's whole thing is we're not sure if isar is a good language of a shvua. So obviously that can't be the source that mifta is a good language of a shvua, because the word isar is also in that section of oaths. So Ella, you're right. So Ella mimai de isar mitvas b'shvuahu. How would I know that the word isar would be a good language of attaching a shvua onto yourself? Dichsiv, as the verse says, O asra isar al nafsha. It says, O asra isar al nafsha. You're prohibiting isar al nafsha. It sounds like you're prohibiting something which is already prohibited, meaning you're attaching something onto yourself. So to that we say, miftanami. The word mift is also haksiv l'chol asher yivata adam b'shvua. Anything which you utter when you make an oath, it uses the same terminology. But once again, we know that mifta is good, and isar we're not sure about. So El Amar Abaye final answers like this: Mifta shvua mehacha, the uttering of a shvua. You know, the word mifta, when you use that to utter an oath, that it actually works and prohibits you is from here. Mehacha v'im hayuti yela ish v'nidare aleha, when a person has the prohibitions on themselves. V'im hayuti yela ish v'nidare aleha o mifta svaseha. So whether you made a neder, so nidare aleha, or by talking about a lady who makes oaths, o mifta svaseha, or she utters with her lips, asher asra al nafsha. So here we're saying that 1 second. Yeah, it says o mifta svaseha. When the Torah wanted to describe the lady who makes an oath, it didn't say that she made a shvuah. It said she uttered with her lips. And it didn't say shvuah. So how did she prohibit this with her lips? She must have used the word mifta, to utter. So from there you see that actually using that language would be considered a valid shvuah. The ilu shvuah lo kamar. It didn't say shvuah. So b'mai asra atzma b'mifta. With what did she prohibit herself? B'mifta. The Torah says if a lady goes and utters with her lips, utters what? It should say oath. Utters an oath with her lips. But it doesn't say utters an oath, just as utters with her lips. So what does she utter? The word uttering. She utters the word mifta. That itself is enough to prohibit somebody in a shvuah. She says the word mifta. Mifta, this thing upon me. This mifta, yeah. So that is Abaye. Okay, we'll try for Rava. Rava says a new explanation of the brisa. La'olam emalach mitas b'shvuah is lav kemotze shum pivtami. The idea of attaching a prohibition onto yourself, it applies maybe by nedarim, but not by shvuos. You can't do that. By a neder, you could say this prohibition that's on this can go onto this object, fine. But you can't do that when you're talking about an oath, which is on the person. So if that's true, what did the brisa mean when it said isar shvuah? What was that referring to? So v'hachi kamar, this is how you read the brisa. Mifta shvuah, that stays the same. The word mifta is another way to say you want to prohibit something upon yourself. That's fine. Isar nami shvuah, an isar, isar nami shvuah. The word isar itself is another way of uttering a regular oath. Nothing to do with attaching and clinging and latching onto. It's a regular way of speaking, of saying an oath. Now, Osrei, the Isar, this Isar, this language, the Torah put right in between Nedarim and Shvuas. We'll see in a second. Hitilo akasav bein neder lishvua. Why did the Torah do that? To tell you, hotziu b'lashon neder. If you use that word Isar when you're referring to an oath, which means on the object, you're prohibiting an object on yourself, it'll work. If you use it b'lashon shvuah to prohibit yourself onto something, it'll be considered a shvuah. It'll be considered a good shvuah. So the Torah put the word isser in the middle of a neder and a shvuah to teach you that depending on what you are talking about, if you're prohibiting an object, it'll work. If you're prohibiting a shvuah, it'll also work. Stop here.